Hello guys, Alan here and welcome back to the channel. This video begins part 2 of our clay design series in Revit. So in the previous part of our tutorial of this lesson, we kind of like modeled out these walls in here, and we figured a way out on how to create these stacked walls where we are going to have all of these walls in there, where we can actually have these walls in there with those different clay materials inside of Revit. Alright, so we were able to create these walls in there and created a stack walls for our clay house design. And in today's video, we are going to be getting started in how we are actually going to design our clay house. Alright, so I'm going to get started with all of that in a second. So what I'm going to do now is I'm first of all going to delete all of these walls you see in here, and I'm going to make sure I just deselect the level lines in there and just DE on your keyboard to take all of those walls out of there. And we are going to get started with our clay house design inside of the Revit software. Alright, so before you actually get started with modeling buildings inside of the Revit software, the first thing you would want to do is you would want to set up your levels. Alright, so you would want to make sure you set up all of these your level lines correctly in there with response to the kind of design that you'll be doing inside of the Revit software. So you need to make sure you set up your levels correctly inside of the software, and that is what we are going to do now. So I'm going to head straight into any of the elevation views, since that is the only place you can actually set up your levels. Alright, so just head straight into any of the elevation views. I can go straight into the south elevation view right there, and we have here level 1 and then level 2. Alright, so before I draw out any levels in there, if you're watching this video and you haven't liked or subscribed to my channel, please do make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. It's going to help me out a lot. So just make sure you subscribe to my channel, like this video, and you can drop a comment in the comment section, and I'll do well to respond to each and every one of you guys out there. Alright, so I've also started a community where I'm actually training people up inside of the Revit software and actually teaching people all over the world how to maximize their workflow inside of the Revit software. So if you want to join that community, do feel free to send me an email or contact me through any of my socials right below this video. Alright, so I'm going to get started now, and so I'm going to get started. So with the level 1 in here, I'm going to make sure I just click in there, and then I'm going to call this ground level. Alright, so this is going to be like the main ground or the natural ground level I'm going to have in there, and then I'm going to name the next one my ground floor plan. Alright, so I'm going to call this ground floor plan in there. Okay, so this is my ground floor plan in here, and with the ground floor plan I'm going to want to change this. Alright, I'm going to want to change this to about 600. So it depends on your level that you want to use in there. Some might use 450 if you want. So you notice I just clicked on that break line to actually break this elevation line in there, this level line in there, to kind of like create a very neat work, because I don't want this crossing in there somewhere like there, so I can't actually see that 600. Alright, so you'd want to, you notice you have this line in there like a Z. Alright, so just click on that one, and then you're going to have this dot also in here. Then you can just break it in here to have some sort of like a neat work in there. Alright, so this is perfect. So what you can do now is you need to make sure you are in the architecture tab, and then you click on this level line in there, and we are going to send the building up to. So with this building, it's not going to have a ceiling. Our clay house design is not going to have a ceiling, just like the original or the existing clay house we went to see. Alright, so with this one, I'm going to give it a floor to ceiling height of about 3,500. Alright, 3,500 is fine by me, and I'm going to drop this somewhere around here. Alright, so this is perfect. I'm going to drop this here, and this is perfect. Alright, so now with this, I'm going to call this our first floor in there. So this is going to be our first floor plan. Let me just put in there first floor plan in there. First floor plan. This is perfect. So you notice in here we have 4,100. Alright, so Revit what Revit does is that it tends to add up all the way from the ground level. Alright, so let me just show you guys what it does. So all the way from the ground level to the first floor, it tends to add up. Alright, even though from this distance to this distance here we have 3,500, and we are going to leave the same 3,500 on the upper distance. So you can click on this and then you can go into here, create similar, and we are going to leave the same 3,500 in there, and I'm going to extend that to somewhere around here. And with this, I'm going to call this my second floor. It's not going to have a second floor, so just 2 floors. So let me call this my roof level. Let me call this my roof level in there, because we are not going to have a ceiling in this project. Alright, so with our roof level, let me just measure this so you guys see it's still going to have the same 3.5 meters on each side. Alright, so I'm going to select this again, and then I'm going to hit on CS on my keyboard to actually create similar of that level line, or you can still go into the architecture tab and then you can still come and click on that level line in there. Alright, so with this, I'm going to leave this about 1,500 in there, and I'm going to call this my rooftop. Alright, so let me just call this rooftop in there, and then just click somewhere around the working area in there to have that. Alright, so this is perfect. So now we have our ground level, our ground floor plan, our first floor plan, our roof level, and then our rooftop. Alright, so we are actually done setting up our levels. Alright, so before you actually design any building or any project inside of Revit, the first thing you'd have to be doing is you need to make sure you set up your levels inside of the Revit software. So we are done setting up that level in there in any of the elevation views. Alright, so maybe any of you guys can be working in the east elevation in there, or you can be working inside of the north elevation in there as well. Alright, so this is perfect. So you notice in any of the elevation views that you're going to work in is also going to appear in all of the other elevation views. The only thing you need to do is you need to go into all of the elevation views manually and then break this line that I broke in the other one. Alright, so in the east elevation, you notice it's still covering that. We need to come in there manually in all of the views. So the fact that I change this or I break this inside of the east elevation doesn't mean it's going to change inside of the west elevation. Alright, so this one is view specific, so anything I touch in there, I'll have to make sure I go into all of them and then fix that up in all the other ones as well. Alright, so this is perfect. Now I'm going to go into any of the floor plan views. So I'm going to start off with the ground level. With the ground level, actually is going to be concrete, so I'm going to start from the ground floor plan. Alright, so I'm going to start from the ground floor plan. So now you guys can decide to actually follow my building design that I'm actually going to be doing now. You guys can decide to follow that same path inside of the Revit software or what I'm about to do. Alright, so I'm going to get started now. So now what most people would tend to do, or what I would tend to do in Revit anytime I'm starting a project, is in between this elevation markers you see in here. So I kind of like figure out if the building is able to like fit in between this elevation markers. So I need to find out if my building is going to fit inside of this elevation markers I have in here, and I think this is just going to be a simple clay house, so I think it should fit in there. But if we should have a project where our building is kind of like going to go beyond this elevation markers, the best thing you'd want to do before starting is you would want to move all of these elevation markers backwards a little bit. So move it backwards a little bit. That is if your clay house is going to go beyond the elevation markers, because we need to be able to capture everything within the elevation markers. That is the only way we are going to have all of our elevation views in there. Alright, so I'm going to get started now. Alright, so I'm going to get started now. I'm currently on the ground floor plan, and I'm going to go straight into the wall icon tab in there. You can actually start off with the grid lines initially, but I'm not going to draw out the grid lines now. I'm first of all going to throw in some walls in there, adjust it by using the Revit software, and then I'm finally going to put in the grid lines in there. All right, so I'm going to start off now. Just click on the wall icon in there, and then I'm going to click on the drop down menu in here. All right, so I'm going to start with our clay wall combined, which is a stacked wall in there. So I'm going to click on that, and with our top constraint and our base constraint, you need to check that as well. So Revit is going to set up your top constraint to an unconnected level of about 8 meters. So we do not want that, and we are currently on the ground floor plan, which is our base constraint. So you notice when I place the mouse pointer in there, we kind of like had, okay, we kind of like have this thumbnail in here. You notice the wall is the plain white square you see in there, and then the red is actually representing the base constraint. All right, so it means that it's going to start on the ground floor plane. All right, so that's what it means. So with that, you can actually come in here and change that, but I'm currently fine with that because I want to start from the ground floor. All right, so this is perfect for me. And then we have our top constraint in here, which is set to unconnected, so it can go beyond our first floor plan in there, and I don't want that. I want this to go all the way to the first floor. All right, so you notice when I selected the first floor, it changes the unconnected height to 3,500. If you remember, you notice the distance from the ground floor to the first floor here is just about 3.5 meters, which is 3,500. All right, so I'm going to go back into our ground floor. Let me just take off a little bit of those views away from there because I don't need all of them there now. And I'm going to go back into the wall icon and make sure you select that your stacked wall is selected, and we are going to just start drawing. So I'm just going to throw in some walls. This is Revit for you. You don't need to worry actually about that. So you can decide to follow exactly what I'm doing, or you can also decide to design something different for yourself. All right, so I'm just going to draw in something. Let me start somewhere around here. This is perfect for me. Let me make sure the rooms about 6.5 is fine. Let me draw this all the way to somewhere around here. Okay, 7 meters is fine, and then I'm going to bring this here. All right, so you guys can decide to actually draw out exactly what I have in here, or you can also decide to design something for yourself. All right, so let me just go into the 3D view and see what I have in here. Okay, so this is perfect for me. I think I like how this shape coming off in there. This is perfect. So I'm going to be treating and actually doing all of those stuff and treating all of those stuff in there. So just going to create similar, and I'm going to leave a distance there also about 6.5. Okay, so the distance I'm going to leave here is just going to be about 5 meters, and I'm going to draw this to somewhere around here and bring this also to somewhere around 6 meters, and then I'm going to bring this down all the way to somewhere around here. Alright, so this is perfect for me, and I'm going to leave a distance of about also 4.2. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to leave a distance of about 3 meters and come all the way up in here and just pull this to about 6.5. Just pull this to about 6.5 meters. You can just quickly even draw that out, and then you just label that inside there. Alright, so I'm going to start off somewhere around here, and we can draw this to come all the way somewhere around here, and then with this I'm going to move this to about 1.5 here. Alright, so this is going to be like our main entrance into our building, and with this I'm going to start from here, and then I'm going to drag this all the way here. Alright, and then we can have this wall coming all the way here So with this wall here, I can pull this to also about 2 meters. All right, so let me just put up the building so we see and have a little bit of inspiration from this building in here. All right, so there are lots of those pictures here we can actually look at. I think I'm fine with this. Okay, so let me just move this to about just to get my dimension line, and with my dimension line being set to the wall center line, you notice in here with the place dimensions, I'm going to change that to wall faces because I want to be able to pick up the wall faces immediately I put this in here. All right, and with this, I'm going to change my detail level to fine level of detail, and that's it for now. I'm going to set this up in there. Let me just change this. Let me turn on my thin lines, and this is perfect. All right, so I'm going to select here, and then I'm going to move this to somewhere around here. All right, so this is perfect for me in there, and we'll need to draw out this wall line here also as well. So this is going way to all the way out in there. Let me just bring this down a little bit and create similar. Just select this wall and CS on your keyboard to actually create similar in there. And let me bring this out about 2.5. This is perfect. 2.5 is perfect. And if I should move this all the way to, let me move this all the way to about also 2.6 or 2.5. This is perfect for me. And let me just leave that space in here and bring this also to about that same length in there. This is fine. And then we have this in here. Alright, so this place is going to be like our wall in here, an open wall. So let me just create this to actually attach with this in there. This is fine. And we're going to have our kitchen somewhere around here with a dining and a bedroom here, and the master bedroom is going to be right on top of this structure. So let me go into the 3D view so we see what's happening in there. So this is our stacked wall for our clay house in there. You notice we kind of like having the same feel. All right, you're having that same clay material in there. So right beneath that, I'm going to use concrete. I'm going to use concrete walls all the way from the ground level to the ground floor to actually attach that with that. All right, so this is perfect. I think I'm liking the way things are coming off in there. This is perfect for me. And here I'm going to go into annotate. All right, and then I'm going to get into my detail line, and then I'm just going to draw a detail line all the way here, somewhere around here, and just pull this here. And I'm also going to draw another detail line to attach with this. This is perfect. I can just select these detail lines and then change this to demolish so I can see that. So this place is going to be coming off like a balcony. This is going to be a living area. We are going to have the staircase here going all the way to the top. I think I'm fine with all of these, and I can basically just select this and extend this a little bit to about 2 meters, and I can make sure I also extend this line as well. All right, so this is perfect. And let me just measure the space I'm having in here. So in here I'm having 2.6. This is perfect. So just 600 millimeters difference from that. All right, that's perfect for me. So this is coming off like the backyard. All right, this is going to come off like the backyard. All right, so let me just get into the 3D view. Let me see. Okay, so this is perfect. Let me get back into the ground floor plan, and I'm now going to draw out the first floor plan as well. So let me get into the first floor plan in there. But before I get into the first floor plan, let me just bring out my grid lines. All right, so I'm going to make sure I select everything in here, and I'm just now going to move it a little bit. All right, I want it to kind of like center between my elevation markers. All right, this is perfect for me, and this is fine. So I'm going to draw out the grid lines. I'm going to go straight into architecture in there, and then I'm going to get into this datum section, and then I'm going to click on grid lines in there. Right, so I'm going to draw out those grid lines starting from this grid line here, but I'm not going to start from here. Let me just start all the way from somewhere here and pull this all the way to around here. This is fine, and I'm going to draw out the next one. So I can click on the grid line again, and then I can draw out the next grid line here, and then our next one is going to go all the way to that as well, and just draw this all the way passing through those walls in there. And I'm going to draw one to also pass through that as well, and one to also go through this as well, and then one is also going to go through this as well in there, and one is also going to go through that as well. All right, so this is perfect in there. So we have our grid lines labeled perfectly for us by Revit automatically. It's starting off by 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. All right, so we are going to draw the ones that are going to go horizontal in there, and let me just start off with that. I'm going to extend this a little bit, and I'm just going to draw this out in there, and with this I'm going to select this and I'm going to label this A. All right, so just click on that and label that A. You can select this CS on your keyboard to actually create similar, and you can pull this out. And we need to draw one also here as well. We can draw one here as well, and we can draw one passing through here also as well. And let's just put one also passing through that as well. And we can make sure one is passing through here. So just select this, and then you can click on that dot like a circle in there, and then you can extend this a little bit to somewhere around here. All right, this is perfect. And CS on your keyboard again after selecting that, and we can just draw out the final grid line. Just make sure it's in the center of those walls in there, and then bring this out. So select that again, and then you can click on that circle, and then you can extend that in there. All right, so we have now the shape of our building here. We have the shape of our building here, which is perfect for me. I think I'm fine with everything happening in here now. This is fine by me, and we need to now, you notice in here with our grid lines, we might want the same grid heads also at the bottom here. Alright, Revit is just always going to automatically generate on the left side. So if you want to make sure you bring them to also the right side, what you can do is that you can actually just select any of the grid lines here. So now you can just select any of the grid lines here, and you can just go straight into edit in there. And when you head straight into edit in there, you're going to notice with the plan view symbols and one, you notice it's unchecked. Alright, so what you can do is you can just make sure you check that in there, hit on apply and hit on OK, and Revit is going to automatically bring out all of those grid hairs in all of those edges in there. All right, so that is just, by the way, how you can actually turn all of those things on in there, or you can just turn all of them on manually by, you notice we have this checked box in there on both sides. When you select any of those grid lines, if you uncheck this one, you are not going to see this one in there. So if you check it, you are going to see, and if you select this one and you uncheck it, you are not going to see that one. If you check it, you are going to see it in there. So that's the way you can turn them off and on manually by yourself, or you can just select any of the family content in there and go straight into edit type, and then you can turn on that in here, hit on apply, hit on OK, and then it's going to turn on automatically in all of those views in there. So I'm going to head straight into the first floor plan, click on the first floor plan in there. We have this here. All right, so I would want to see my ground floor plan or the level below there. So I'll head straight into the properties panel, and then I'm going to scroll all the way down and make sure I find my underlay. All right, so with the underlay, with the range base level in there, it's set to none. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to change this to ground floor plan. All right, so I can now see my ground floor plan in there. All right, so now you notice with my ground floor plan here, I can actually select what is happening on below the ground floor plan in there. I can actually select that. That is because I've actually turned this on. All right, so if I should check this or click on this, you notice even if I should hit on the tab key, I can't select anything below the ground floor plan. So that's just by the way, if you do not want to change anything or tamper with anything mistakenly on the ground floor plan, you can just make sure you turn this on, and then you can't select anything there. But if you uncheck this in there, you can now select items on the ground floor plan itself. All right, so that's just by the way, and we are going to start off with our first floor. So I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to create similar of that same wall right on the ground floor plan. Or you can make sure you go straight into the architecture tab, click on wall, and then you're going to have that stacked wall clay combined in there. All right, so this is perfect for me. And I'm going to draw this out all the way to somewhere around here. And let me bring this all the way to somewhere around here. And then bring this wall also out in there. And then I'm going to extend this. All right, I'm going to extend this to somewhere also here in there. I'm going to extend this somewhere around here. Okay, so let me bring this to somewhere around this grid line, because this area is actually our staircase area in there. And with this, I'm going to create a balcony somewhere around here. All right, that balcony is going to face all the way here. So let me bring this to somewhere around here, and this wall is going to be off. All right, this wall is going to be off, and I'm going to extend this to actually touch with this in there. And let me extend this to also come all the way here. This is perfect. This is also going to come all the way there, and create similar as well again. And I'm going to draw this to cover here, and this wall is also going to cover all the way here. This wall is also going to cover all the way here. And with this, I'm also going to create some sort of like the same kind of farm that they have, or that green they have on top of that building. All right, so I'm going to bring this to somewhere around here. All right, bring this also here. And with the staircase area, I'm going to select this, and I'm going to bring this here, and I'm going to select this, create similar in there, and bring this all the way to the center here. And then I'm going to move this to connect with this. All right, this is perfect. I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to move this also all the way to somewhere around here. All right, so we are going to have our master bedroom here. This place is going to have our master bedroom, where we are going to have our shower area and our bath area, and our bedroom is also going to come in here. This place here is going to be like a balcony here, where we are going to have a railing, a glass railing here, so you can actually see out through the building on this side. All right, and this place is going to be like a living area as well. This place is going to be like an open living area here, and where you can walk also and come in here. And we're going to have a green area here as well. So let me just extend this a little bit, and I'll extend this also to come all the way to somewhere around here. We are not going to have walls exactly going all the way up in there. All right, we're going to have just the plain surface in there. Let me put up the picture so you see what I'm talking about. So we are going to have something like that open plain area on this side. All right, that's what we are going to have on that side here. That's what we are going to have on that side. Let me get into the 3D view so we see how that is coming off. So our clay house is coming off pretty much very nice, and I'm going to start the way it's coming off. I'm going to start putting in our curtain walls and all of those stuff, and our doors and windows, so it's going to have a better feel in there. All right, so let me get into the picture view in there. So we have this, and then the concrete is going to form that in there on the top. On the top, we are not going to have that clay, and we are going to have that concrete in there. Okay, so that's perfect. Let me get back into the first floor plan in there. So we are just going to be inspired by creating something that's actually going to look like that clay house in there. All right, so let me just go back into those images, and I need one that I can actually see right on top in there. Let me see if I can get something. Okay, so I think I found something that is making much more sense. Let me bring this down a little bit, and I can just move this. All right, so let me just select this wall, and then I can move this, extend this to join with that. All right, let me get into the 3D view and see how that is coming off. So here we are not going to have anything here. All right, let me get back into the first floor plan, and I'm going to select this wall, and I'm going to take this off. All right, this is going to be off, and also these walls here are going to come down. All right, we are not going to have anything. We are not going to have those walls in there. They're just going to be beams. They are just going to be concrete beams like this, right? Like this ones also here. It's just going to be concrete beams also on our first floor plan in there. All right, I'm just going to have those concrete beams also there, but I'm going to leave this here for now, and we are going to continue in the next part of this tutorial where I'm going to be doing that. So I'm going to leave this here for now, and I'm going to continue in our next part of this tutorial. So if you have been able to draw this out in there, well, you can, if you are following my design or you are actually designing something on your own, it's also very nice. If you are designing something on your own in there, it's also going to help as well. So if you're following with my design in there, you can actually follow with this, or you can also make sure you design something of your own sort. But if you're following me and you have been able to draw successfully to this very end in here, I'm going to pause here, and we are going to take off in the next part of this tutorial where I'm actually going to be drawing all of those stuff also in there as well. All right, so I'm going to continue in the next part of this tutorial in there. And if you're watching me and you haven't liked or subscribed to my channel, please do make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. It's going to help me out a lot, and I'll catch you guys in the next part of our clay house tutorial design in there. Peace out. I'm still working real hard on a Saturday. A future I don't see from a mile away.